Hey guys, we're at Vernon National. It's July 27th, Friday. We're going to do a little load development today with the Savage Model 12 F class with the 6.5 284. Haven't been able to get this gun to shoot as good as my 6BR, and I'd like to maybe shoot it down at Ilion Rifle Range next week when we do our bench rest. It's a hell of a steel killer. When you pull the trigger on this, the velocity is around 3,000 feet per second. And it really hits those targets pretty quick. But with that comes a price. You know, you get throat erosion, you get a little more recoil. And the powder we're going to be using is Reloader 26. I like Reloader 26. You get good velocity and not a lot of pressure. And the range we're going to be using is 52 grains. We're going to go up in 2 grain increments, right up to 53 grains. Seating depth on these are right at the rifling. One of the problems with this gun is it's a Schillen 1 8 twist. Doesn't have a long throat on it, so I can't really get the maximum potential of this gun because I can only seat the bullets out so far. Matter of fact, the boat tail is down, sitting right in the powder on these, so I'm not happy about that. I'd have to spend a couple $100 to get a throat reamer for it. So we're out here today to make a determination if we're going to continue to go forward with this 6.5 284, or if I'm going to pull it off and maybe put something else on it that is a little bit more accurate. But it certainly does kill the steel. It does a nice job with that. So I'm going to provide you with some chronograph information. Reloader 26, 6.5 284. So stay tuned. One of the things with this gun is that in your process of load development, you could potentially burn the barrel out. And these have a life of about 1,000, just say 1,000 firings for accuracy. Now, if this was a hunting situation, you could probably go a whole lifetime with it because the groups aren't going to open up that much. But I've run a bore scope down through this, and I can actually tell you that there's already throat erosion now at about maybe 400 rounds. .78-79. Awesome cartridge. Definitely. I shot 2 rounds with the 6BR on that same platform yesterday, and literally you can pinch the trigger guard and the trigger and free recoil it back. This thing here is an intermediate class recoil gun, and it definitely, you really have to have good form and not mind a little bit more recoil. Of course, this would reach out to 1,000 a lot better than the 6BR, but it's a trade-off here. I think I'm ready to do my sight-ins here. I'm actually going to do 5-shot groups, checking for which load is best. I'm going to let the barrel entirely cool down between rounds, and we're going to be here for a while because we have actually 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We've got 30 bullets, and probably going to take a good hour or 2 to get that done. So I'm going to come back with the results afterwards. And before we start, which one do you think will be the best between 52 and 53 grains? Which one do you think will be best? I'm hoping one of them will at least shoot it at a minute of angle so I could take this down and shoot it at the bench rest match next week at Ilion. But we'll see. Stay tuned. That's sweet. We've hit that velocity that I like. Not so fast that you're going to burn out the throat prematurely. Okay, first up, 52 grains, Reloader 26, 130 grain Sierra tipped Match King. Here's the 5, 2911. spread of 13 and a deviation of 6. This is what we're doing for every set. I'm going to run one patch of solvent down through. I know I don't have my board guide today, but this will work. I'm going to run one brush down. Twice. And we are going to run 2 dry patches. This will probably help kill a little time and fairly standard condition for the bore. You want to make sure you get all the solvent out of the chamber area for sure. We're up to 52.2 grains now, and this will give you an idea, front side view, as far as the recoil with it. What it reminds me of is I had a dirt bike back in the 70s, and it was a 360 Yamaha MX, and I came off of a 125cc Yami, and I went right into that 360. And boy, that was a hard bike to tame. You could be doing 50 miles an hour in a field and just wrap on the throttle, and it would take that front wheel right up. And this is kind of very similar. This is kind of a bucking bronco, you know. It has a little bit more energy than the 6BR, obviously. A lot of fun to shoot. But here's a front view, and we're going to do shot group 2 for this. It's kind of funny too. The primers look good, but I'm actually seeing ejector marks on the brass upon closer inspection. Nothing to worry about. I mean, we're not over 3,000 feet per second yet, so I don't have anything to worry about there. But here's a front view. .2830 with 0.2 of a grain more. I don't know about that. I think we have an anomaly with our chronograph. Bullet went right where it was supposed to. Hopefully it wasn't a hand loading issue. Oh man. Okay. Strangely enough, I'm not seeing any more velocity with these adding 0.2 of a grain. Interesting. It kind of makes you wonder. Okay, 52.2 grains of Reloader 26 in that 130 Sierra Tip Match King. And I think that standard deviation was an anomaly from the chronograph. because I've got a 1/2 inch group down there. So I think that first one, let's see, that one. That is an anomaly, because if you had 70 feet per second difference or close to it, you'd have definitely a different impact point. So I'm going to toss out that first number, and this is for accuracy, this load 52.2 looks pretty promising. Let's change the string. So if I haven't told you, these are neck sized, okay, and the seating depth is right at the rifling, not any jam at all here, and kind of happy with those results with the 52.2 grains. And you see me using a brush, and yes, I use a brush. 52.4 was a really lousy group, but that's why we're doing this, is to find out what works and what doesn't work, and that one definitely didn't work. Here's the string. You wouldn't know it by the group down there. It wasn't very good at all. You guys may have seen this rest in several videos, but you may not have had the tour through it. In the front here, it has a stop, so you can move the rifle up, and you're starting from the same point. This is made out of Delrin. You can adjust it depending on what you need to do. So this makes sure that your starting off point is the same every time. You do have tension screws that you can adjust this so the fore end, depending on the width of the fore end of your stock, it doesn't move left or right. I do have it tracking fairly straight. These have fine adjustments to level the gun up to the scope level in the back here. You can actually adjust these up. They have little piercing points that kind of set down into the bench. For a gross adjustment on your elevation, this bottom one is the main shaft that will bring the gun up. And what I usually do is I'll center the finer adjustment elevation sort of in the middle, because I find that most of the time when I shoot, what I need to do is I need to lower the gun every time after every shot. So I usually start my fine adjustment back here high, and by the time I'm all done, I'm gradually just lowering the gun every time just a little bit. And that might be because I haven't exactly figured out how to get the gun to track perfectly. And there is also a very, very nice windage adjustment left and right. I try not to adjust it too much, but that's spring loaded. So we're up to 52.6 we're going to be doing now. And one of the things I didn't share with you is all of these cases that we're using are within about 3/10 of a grain. They're Lapua cases, and I'm using CCI number 34 primers. They have a very hard primer cup. You might notice that I'm using a kind of a strange trigger technique, and it just keeps things exciting, you know, when you're trying new things. You know, I sometimes hold a gun like this, but lately I've been trying this a little bit, where I just basically squeeze between the back of the trigger guard and here. Seems to work pretty well. I don't really have to grip this gun as much as I thought I was going to have to, but this is what it looks like. We'll start up with the 52.6 grains. These AccuTriggers, most of the guys that shoot bench rests don't like them because they find them to be a little bit cumbersome. Doesn't bother me too much. The one thing that I do like about it is that it's almost absolutely impossible to have an accidental discharge, because if you throw the gun on the ground, what ends up happening is this blade ends up interrupting the sear. It locks the whole gun up. The only way that you can effectively get this gun to go off is if there's a little out piece here that slides through. Very safe trigger. I don't mind them too much. This is probably about 8 ounces right now. Okay, 52.6. Now, that extreme spread, you know what that is? I'll tell you in a second. It's this one right here. Right there. 2830. 100 feet per second less. First shot. Let's go back to the string before that. So we're up to 52.8. I think we're doing a little bit of excessive damage to the cases now. If I could seat these out a little further, it would be a lot less pressure. Here's 52.8 grains of Reloader 26. Spread of 20, deviation of 8. Had very little vertical stringing, but it had a lot of horizontal stringing on that one though. Okay, here's another pizza box of science results here. These are 130 grain Sierra Tip Match Kings, Reloader 26. And the winner was Group 2 at a ½ inch. These are all 5-shot groups. Going down through, okay, 8 tenths, 5 tenths, 1.2, 0.8, 0.8 seemed to be the, and I didn't even try 6 for the following reasons: open primer pockets, recoil, and throat erosion. And here were the velocities. 52 grains was 2904, 52.2, 2906. I'm going to use that one. You had 2919, 2930, 2950, and the law of diminishing return was beginning to happen, to where weren't really getting the increases in velocity for the pressure that I was seeing on the cases, so I kind of stopped at that point. So I'm going to load up 2 batches for 2 matches for our F-class down to Ilion using load number 2, which is 52.2 grains of Reloader 26 and 130 grain Sierra Tipped Match King. And that's the velocity that I'm going to be able to expect. So, hey, thanks for watching. I know it was a long video, but for anybody that has a 6.5 284, give Reloader 26 a try. It's really, it's a very good powder for the 6.5 284.